Forgot my water. I forgot my water. All right. Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. My name is Donna.
I'm D.
Oh, welcome back to the Intersectional Intellectuals channel. Today, our topic is going to be emotional intelligence within communities of color. As we said last episode, this does not mean that communities that are not of color do not have emotional intelligence. Um, and then this is not to say that only the communities of color have to work on it, nor do they lack it either, right? This is just our primary focus for this season and possibly channel. So let's get into it. For anyone who is new, I would recommend going back to episode 1 just to see how we run our channel, get a baseline for how we think, how we operate, what is and is not tolerated here, and then to get familiar with some of our topics that we've talked about previously, but also how we like to uniquely run our episodes. And one of those things would be later on, you'll see with getting into our creative spaces. I would definitely say if you have the time now, go ahead and maybe grab like a journal if you want to jot down notes. You can have the journal and pen ready for whenever we start doing meditations, or whenever we do get into our creative meditation section of this video.
And I will also add, sorry, the
Okay.
episode 1 also explains the title because we do talk about our different intersections.
That is true. That is true. Thank you. Um, and then, um, without further ado, setting our intentions for this episode. What are your intentions for this episode, Dee?
My intention is coming up with actual actionable things that we can like give to our audience and our each other so that we can become more emotionally intuitive or emotionally connected um, post this episode. So actually saying like these are the things that worked. This is where as a community we should be looking at things from multiple perspectives. Here's a few of those perspectives.
Okay, that is wonderful. I like that. I'd say my intentions for this episode while we discuss is definitely to remain as neutral as possible. Um, I tend to, how do I put it? Mm, I don't want to say give slack, but like I'm not as hard on my people as I probably should be, especially when they do wrong. I tend to
Mhm.
give them more chances than they probably should have.
Like more
Um,
grace.
mm-hmm. Than what I do for other people that I do not know. And so, because of knowing that, I would definitely like to just remain as neutral as possible and not even allow like my experiences to sway my answer. Just if something is right, something is right. And if something is wrong, it is wrong.
We may balance each other out because I tend to be a lot harder on the people I know and love because I'm like, y'all know my expectations right now. So
That is
I'm
true.
so we're gonna balance each other out beautifully.
Okay. All righty. All righty. Then with
So
that, let's get into it.
I
Uh,
think the first y'all gonna see me drink out this big thing because I don't have a water bottle. I think the first thing we need to like talk about is what do you think the standard of emotional intelligence currently looks like in communities of color?
um, So when you say that, right? Because you said, what do I think the standard is?
Mhm.
Is that based on my experience or just like my personal experience? Or like, is that based on, I know this is also gonna sound like an experience, but like what society expects of us, right?
I think culturally, what do you think emotional intelligence has, as of now, looked like versus where it should be?
Mm. Then for that, obviously it needs work. Um, and because I haven't met everyone, of course, right? But for those I have met, majority of my life, they have lacked the emotional awareness, um,
Mhm.
and have not done the work to ensure that they're not passing on or creating further trauma. Um, and whether it's family or friends, right? I have seen a few people interact with adults and children, and it's made me uncomfortable. I'll say that. Um, I My first time ever seeing, at the time I didn't know what it was. So I will say that I did not have this term for it, but the first time that I saw what actual like emotional intelligence, or like a person who can express their emotions without having it be just anger or just yelling at someone or just beating a child, right? I
Mhm.
think I was 14, 15 years old. Um, and now that's a long time to go without even, you know,
No, like I'm doing the math. I don't think that I was even that age when, because I'm trying to think, but I also think that this comes from the intersection of being community and color, a community of color, but also like being lower income, where as a parent, you're struggling so much to make ends meet that by the time you get home after working two, three jobs or 16 hours, like you're just overstimulated, but not having the language to say that or understand that because we were never taught that. And then at the moment your child asks for something that seems like an inconvenience or something else more the world is asking of you, you just flip. So like I honestly don't think that I'm still trying to think because you brought up a great point. I I was definitely older than 15 when I saw someone, like you said, have the emotional intelligence to like talk to a child respectfully. And
and the
I'm
only
literally
reason
trying. Go
the
ahead.
only reason I saw it was because and it wasn't even happening to me, by the way. So for me to even experience it, I would have to say I never experienced it. But um, I watched one of my older cousins who she got pregnant young. I'll say she was a teen pregnancy, so she was a statistic, as they would say, but she did not let that stop her. She still graduated high school. She also went to college. She now owns like multiple businesses. Right, so like she expanded her business and was putting it in different like cities and even states now, right? And I am so proud of her, right? From like where
Mhm.
she came from to where she is.
Mhm.
But she was the first one, like the very first person who showed me you don't always have to beat a child. You don't always have to
Mhm.
scream and yell at a child. You don't
Mhm.
always have eh, to be everything that we have seen growing up with parents. You did not have to
Mhm.
be that. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not, and I hate when people label gentle parenting as being someone's friend. It's not you
Or
being their
pushover
friend,
parenting.
right? It's you
Mm-hmm.
understanding that your child is experiencing one of the most complex things in the fucking world, and that is emotions. We can
Mm-hmm.
barely handle our own emotions. We can barely process them, and we can
And some of the
barely
parents can't.
explain them.
I feel like some of the parents can't handle their emotions, which is why the first thing they go to is anger. And that
Right.
anger makes some people. So like it's like as a parent, you're not handling that emotion. Why do you think someone who's never experienced these emotions at this level before can
Should be
handle these
able to.
emotions?
And if you're not
Yeah.
even giving them a good example of how to handle said emotion, how the hell do you think they're supposed to handle it?
Mhm.
You can't scream and yell at them all day and then think that they're supposed to be a better person from it. What sense does that fucking make?
You know, okay, so Donna, I'm still thinking about, I think for me, when I first saw it, so two of my sisters, my oldest sister and my twin sister, military twin, um, and then even my baby sister, the way that they parent, and I'm with Tashiwashi more often. So, and you know, Nai is like my child. She gave birth to my child. But like the way she has conversations with Nai, the way she allows Nai space to talk. Actually, I'm gonna go back even further. My mechanic, who happens to also be a pastor and was my high school sweetheart's dad. So there's a lot because we from a
Yes,
small
we love
town.
him. We love him.
The way he talked to his children to me was that same respect, despite
Mhm.
the fact that a lot of things along the way. So I will say him because he was very much slow to anger, ask questions, love you no matter what, and really show that. Um, and and I'm sure his children probably got beatings at somewhere down the road, but every time I've seen him correct his children, it definitely that slow to anger. Let's talk about it. Son, what were you
Right.
thinking? Get our process.
And so, and that's my thing, right? So it's not even like, because not every person who believes in gentle parenting, right, is like, oh, I'll never beat my children. Because it's not to say that
Mm-hmm.
my cousin never hit her kids.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a last resort. It wasn't the
Mm-hmm.
first thing she went to. It wasn't the first thing to pop up into her mind. If her children
Mm-hmm.
were, crying, she'd be like, hey, I can't understand you when you're crying. I need you to talk
Mm-hmm.
to me. What's going
Mm-hmm.
on? If they weren't doing it, she's like, okay, well, I'll leave you to, feel how you feel, let you express
Mm-hmm.
that. Once you're ready to talk, come and talk to me. She would legit close the door,
Mm-hmm.
let them have whatever, moment they needed. Once they were done crying, once they
Mm-hmm.
were done feeling hurt or whatever it was that they were feeling, they came out, Mom, can I talk to you? She's like,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. There was
Mm-hmm.
no beating necessary for that.
Yep. And that's what like I love watching my sisters raise their children
Hmm.
because their children have voices. And I said last episode my parents gave me a voice, but I'm also autistic, so like I was always very high achieving. Like it was never my goal to do anything to be punished. And so my mom, although she probably don't admit it, she is also autistic. She gets very easily overstimulated. So as a parent, that's not a great combination. Where my brother has ADHD. My mom is also has really bad ADHD, but my brother has ADHD. All the men in my family have ADHD. Like to the point where they they need breaks from each other because together they're like running off the walls trying to kill each other. And to them it's just all good fun. And you've seen the boys in my family go a million miles an hour. So the reason I know that they need breaks from each other sometimes is they will even request like, can I come to your house without the other one? I'm good whenever I'm not with that one. So they're
Not
very
without the
self-aware.
other one.
And so there's this moment where my nephew, now he's like 7, but at this time he was like 2 or 3. And him and his brother had gotten into to do this thing. He would just squeal at the top of his lungs. I could tell he was overstimulated. And my parents, I love them to pieces, but they don't do like, hey, let me just talk to you. They yell and they cuss instead of like having that moment to bring things down. And so I took the baby in a room and I was like, let's take a break from everyone. Let's go in the room together. And he was like, okay. And so we go in the room. Leave him on the floor to do his thing. I'm just scrolling on my phone. He's doing his own thing, playing in the corner. And I ask him, are you ready to go back with everybody else? And he says, no, more time. I said, okay, because he wasn't using full sentences. I was like, okay. So he stayed in. 30 minutes later, I said, are you ready now? He said, yes, I'm ready. And he got up, he went into the living room, everything was fine. And so we know if we give kids the space and we teach them how, they can. You know what I mean? But I think it's that idea of teaching them how. And Donna, I have to say with you, there was a really great example that I was telling someone else about. They was telling Hayden about. And I said, like, I've never seen something so beautiful happen. But for Sam's birthday, we all went to California. And there's this moment where we're like, Donna, hurry up. Donna, come on, Donna. And then you were like, I'm overstimulated. I just need a moment to like calm down. And then we're all like, oh, okay. Everyone just accepted. They ask you no more questions. We're like, oh, okay. And we did whatever we wanted to do. You know what I mean? In that time to give you time. Then you're like, all right, y'all, I'm ready. Donna, I can't tell you that if I've ever been in any other setting where the respect and emotional intelligence for everyone in the group was on that level. Oh,
Yeah, I know. I didn't want to interrupt you speaking, but like it was
well,
coming
hopefully,
through.
okay.
It's just
So
I didn't want it to
hopefully,
like freeze during that time and then like it do the thing that it did earlier.
we'll look at the camera and see how the conversation went and if it's
Okay.
choppy there. So yeah, so like just watching people become more emotionally intelligent, and then every generation tries to do better than the previous generation.
Although they swear, like, although the older generation will, for some reason, think that we are weaker or snowflakes or insert whatever term it is to say that we are not as strong as they are. And it's like, do you know how strong you have to be raised in an environment that tells you emotions are wrong, and then to have to unlearn 30 plus years of that
Mhm.
just so you can be a decent human being, not the best human being, a decent one, just bare
That
minimum.
part,
Like
that
that
part,
is
that part.
it. And then
Mhm.
like being vulnerable is not easy. Being vulnerable
It's
is
not.
it's not for the weak. It is not. Crying in front of others
Mm-mm.
is not a simple thing to do, especially not when your coping mechanism, your defense mechanisms has always been to bottle it up and push it down, push people away,
Mm.
isolation. And
Mm-hmm.
I
And I think we have.
unfortunately, go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I unfortunately had to like unlearn that very late in life, by the way. Like I don't remember what episode we were on, but I was like, I thought I was good. Like I thought I, was emotionally aware of like where I was and like, oh, I didn't need to do
Mm-hmm.
said work and stuff like that. And
Mm-hmm.
then having to realize that no, the idea of who you are in your head does not fit who you are in everyday life. And that
Exactly.
was
I was
one
gonna
of the
say,
hardest things to
but
like,
we all have to go there in order to grow.
yeah,
Like we all
that
have
is
to come
true.
to that realization. Like the person I think I am is not how the world sees me. Like, at all, bro. And so, but that's the only way we get to that growth. You know what I mean? And
Uh-huh.
stop saying like, oh, that's just my personality. Doesn't make it less toxic just because it's your personality. Does not. And then we have to also have that conversation where stepping away versus isolation,
Mhm.
right? Where it's like I need a moment to work through my emotions versus I don't want to be around nobody ever again. Don't come for me. I'm completely isolated. You know what I mean? Those are two different things.
It is.
Those are two
It
different
really
things.
is.
Without a conversation you have all the
I know,
time.
I
Where
know.
I just want to be by myself
Very
so I can
targeted when you said it too.
heal. I just want to be by myself so I can heal Donna. So if you're all doing all of this work in isolation, the moment you get around other people, what's going to happen? All that work is coming undone because being in isolation is not realistic for the way we live our lives.
It's not.
So
It's
it's
not.
that like understanding how to take space, but also understanding how you can operate and regulate yourself around people so you can still maintain that self-awareness, that emotional intelligence. And I would definitely say like understanding how ADHD works as an adult, like not knowing I had it as a kid, but understanding now as an adult has helped me with my emotional intelligence so much more, so much more. Um, but it's because, and one of the things, like I don't process trauma correctly. I downplay trauma. Like all the trauma in my life, I'd be like, girl, we just building character, sis, we good. And I actually end up going to therapy because I wasn't sure if I was handling trauma correctly. So I had just gotten divorced and I had just, went through the whole cancer thing, but I was fine. And I was like,
Are
I'm not an
we?
expert, but I should be
That
fine. And so
those
I
are
was like,
two major life events that like it's
right.
not to say you got to be unraveling at the seams, but damn, you ain't fine either.
I was way too fine. I was like, let me check in to make sure I'm okay. And that's also the time where I started getting into my spirituality. So I had these spiritual gifts coming up. And I was like, let me make sure I'm just not crazy, crazy. Like, let me make sure I'm still grounded enough in reality that I'm processing my emotions and that I'm not in like some sort of psychosis. And so that's when I started therapy. And my therapist was like, you're handling things differently because you're compartmentalizing. And that's a huge thing that happens with people who are autistic, but overachieving autistic, where we're like, we'll deal with this emotion later. Let me intellectualize this emotion. So, oh, I'm breaking up again. So that way I don't have to feel it. And I do that. I do that a lot. And so now I try to sit with it, but I give myself like a time period. Like, girl, you got to give me some emotion for at least 10 minutes. If you can't do this for 10 minutes, we'll have to go back from the plan to figure out where we went wrong. And I don't think enough communities of color encourages that.
They do not. They do not. And especially within, which is weird, right? Because it's like because I was about to just say, especially when you're children, but it's like at no point in your life, because it's like as a kid, you can't process this emotion because it's wrong, right? So it's like, oh, you need to stop that. You need to, stop throwing temper tantrums. You're not a toddler. And then it's like as you get older, you're not a child. Well, I couldn't do it as a child either, but okay. And then it's like as you
Mm-hmm.
get older, it's like you're just supposed to know how to process this without ever having processed it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, what? How, how do we get here? And then it's like depending on your gender, right? Like, and
Mm-hmm.
no offense to anyone who is non-binary, but I'm
Not
speaking in
binary.
this
And we'll talk
um
about the way you're socialized gender wise. So
right,
this is like the way you're socialized gender wise, because there's not a lot of generations where from us and earlier that were socialized as non-binary. So
right,
we socialize as a binary in our genders, either male or female.
correct.
Now, how you identify now is different, but as how you were socialized has a huge impact on how this works. Sorry.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for explaining that, because I was probably gonna go like on a damn tangent, apologizing and stuff. But yeah, so depending on, right, if you were raised, depending on how you're raised, based on your gender, right? Like with girls or women, right? It was obviously everyone up to a certain age was, you don't throw a timber tantrum because you're not a child. Um,
Mm,
um, and then it's like as you reach into young women or a woman's age, then it's like it no longer becomes like you can express that emotion either. It's that term, they're emotional. Um,
mm-hmm.
and then it's like it puts this like negative connotation on it as like, so what, do I not get to feel how I feel? Like, is that what you're saying?
And it's only in like circles with your homegirls that y'all can talk through these emotions
Right.
rationally, but you're not really actually working on them. You're literally just venting to each other.
Mm-hmm. And then even within that setting though, depending on where your friend's mental state is, right? Like
That part.
they may also be, for the younger folks these days and all, but they may be a person who just doesn't see the emotion as valid. And we'll get into that also about like not validating people's emotions. And then like on the other
Mm-hmm.
hand, boys, young men, and men are just taught to like not even express it, right? Like it's just
Right.
completely cut it off. Like the moment you experience
Mhm.
it, push it down. And
And
it's
I
like,
think that's also like while we're seeing in society that men do better health wise when they have a partner, I think it's because they have someone to talk to, they have someone to go through the thing with. But for that one partner to be that everything, you have to make sure that partner has the emotional bandwidth for that. Because if they're dealing with their own stuff and then you're piling more stuff onto them, do they have the bandwidth to handle that? Because if not, now your person has that burden and they don't know how to tell you like this is too much without you feeling like, oh, so this person ain't even on my side. It's like, yes, but also you need to work on your own stuff. You can't just keep using me for a dumping ground, but you're still not growing in these other areas because you were never taught to. I can't be
or
your everything in this moment.
or not even just that, right? Like you expecting to be able to dump all this on someone, but no one can come to you in return. And again, it's not to say like this has to be a tit for tat kind of
Stimmy.
thing. This isn't a us keeping
Mhm,
score, but it's like it's a give
mhm.
and take kind of relationship, right? Like
Exactly.
when it comes to relationships or partnerships, it's give and take. It always has to be, because you
Hmm.
always have to compromise. You always have to be willing to do what's being done for you. And if there is
Exactly.
something that
And
you're
I
like,
think,
I'm just not comfortable with, that's something you also need to
hmm,
discuss. But if
hmm,
your partner is like, well, I can't come to you, but you feel like you can come to me, at this point, you need to just go to therapy. And then you're like, oh, I don't
hmm.
need therapy. Yes, you
Girl,
do.
why you narrating a conversation I had with a former relationship? Girl, this is a whole conversation. Because I literally told this person, I said, I am not equipped to handle this. However, let's find you someone who is.
Mm.
And they thought that I had given up on the whole relationship. Sir, I said, I am not equipped to handle this.
And it's just I'm not equipped to handle like all of the emotional
Paper,
I don't want to
that's the
say
word.
baggage, but like it's just like emotions are a lot. Let's say that, okay? Like they are a
Hmm.
lot. And when you experience
Hmm.
more than one at once, that just makes it heavier. And so it's like
Exactly.
depending on the situation that you're in or dealing with, right? Like there's always going to be more than one emotion coming in.
Hmm.
And so to take
Hmm.
that and then not only are you experiencing it, but now you're just like dumping it on someone else who is also experiencing whatever
Hmm.
other emotions that they have to experience.
Hmm.
from not just
And then it's
themselves, but
even
now
wild.
you. Uh-huh.
Exactly. And it's even wild when the thing you're emotionally dumping on them about also affects them.
Mm-hmm.
So now they have to do their own emotional labor in your emotional labor, and they
Mm-hmm.
can't share that labor with you. So, and I think this kind of hits on the point where for so long in this country in particular, they would always say like going to therapy and getting, oh, that's white people stuff. We don't do that. That's white people stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like allow yourself to be dehumanized to the extent where you don't think your emotions have value.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think they're valid. And then a lot of older white people remember the era of whenever something was wrong with you emotionally, they like put you in a crazy asylum and they would lobotomize you. They would just leave you there and torture you. Like, so they were all afraid of mental health and shrinking and stuff like that. Where we're like, no, 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 we don't do that no more. Most places don't do that anymore. Like there's ways to talk to someone. Oh, we don't want so and so in our business. The way the suicide rates are going, you're not gonna have no business.
Not gonna have a damn life at this point. Like if it's
Amen.
not
That
gonna be whatever takes your life, it's gonna be the damn stress. Cause that stuff, it
ages you, it breaks you down. I tell this story often. So my first year teaching, I used to give extra credit, 100 points of extra credit for anyone who wanted to read their best paper. And in this assignment, two of my best students, one was an Asian immigrant, one was a Haitian immigrant. And the Asian immigrant, he was such a great student. And I remember him reading his paper, and it had a line in it. I don't know if it was the start of the paper or the start of a new paragraph, like into his thesis. But he said, I've been suffering with mental health for the past 4 years, but mental health doesn't put food on the table. Immediately, the entire classroom, eyes wet, eyes wet, because we all understood. We all understood. And then the other young lady, who is one of my best student, most memorable students ever, I met her son. Um, she got pregnant like last year of high school, but still was going through college and everything. And she read her paper. She was talking about how emotionally she's barely holding on. She said, and there are so many days where I hope that my son is not as hungry as he is so I can eat dinner. After he finishes his kid's meal, I can eat what's left over. And there goes that stress of all of the things that I'm trying to do to look like I am doing all of the things correctly are crushing me. But because of these communities of color and the way they think about mental health, I have to suck it up. And to me, that's wild, especially when we look at male suicides on the rise and have been on the rise for years. And like you said, men cannot express themselves emotionally in most of the areas, the homes in which they were raised. And we talk about that in my 1102 class, where we have a section that is all about men talking. And so many men realizing, like, dang. And keep in mind, I work on a campus that is predominantly of color. So a lot of immigrants, but mostly, Caribbean, African American, Black American, and then we got a lot of Portuguese students, and we have a lot of Latin American students. And so all of these students coming together saying like, oh, we don't really talk about that in my household. My parents don't believe that mental health is a real thing. My parents think I'm lazy. They don't know that I'm depressed. They don't believe in depression. And I'm like, in 2024, because this is 2024 at the time, how do your parents not believe in something that is true?
because people still think that it's just something Democrats or liberals or millennials or whoever they're upset with at this time, right? Like it's it's something that was made up. It's something
Mm-hmm.
that was, used as an excuse to like get out of work. It's something that was used as an excuse, just solely for an excuse, right? And it's like
Mm-hmm.
you can't fake depression. I'm sorry. You just can't. It's either you are or you are not. Will people
Mm-hmm.
try and act as if they're depressed? I will never put it past someone to lie about something, right? Like, unfortunately, we have those types of people in this world who just lie unnecessarily.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yes, we do.
again, you cannot just fake being depressed.
Mm-hmm. And
It's
then, especially if you are depressed with a partner, that partner knows something is off, even if they can't put a name to it. And if you're not getting help for that, now your partner is feeling inadequate as a partner because they don't know what to do. They can't help you. You know what I mean? And whether you're sharing the information with them or not, they're still feeling inadequate as a partner. And then with your family. So when I had my suicide attempt, um, I remember my roommate was the one who called the cops and the fire truck. So I was on the phone with my friend saying goodbye to my friend, not my family, my friend. I was saying goodbye and I had everything planned out. I'd already done part one. I don't want to say what the plan is because it was super detailed. And I don't want to put that in the world for anyone else to be like, that's a great plan. I'm not going to say that. But my whole goal was I want to leave the least amount of mess for the person who finds my body. And so I planned it in a way that that would be possible. So soon as this happened, the next day I'm on my way coming home and my dad shows up in an unmarked cop car, kidnaps me. I was like, oh, I gotta go to work. He's like, we already called off for work for you. Get in the car. No packing, no nothing. Get in the car. And so we went, and I got into the car. They took me home. And so at the time I had my high school crew. And within my high school crew, the other three people, I had one person that made me laugh, one person that made me cry, and then one person that put things into perspective for me.
Mhm.
And I needed that. And my family didn't really know how to have that conversation. And I remember my pastor at the time, RIP, him saying, like, do we need to have a conversation? And I was like, no, I'm good. At no point did anyone tell me to go to therapy. That wasn't even an option. No one considered maybe she should go to therapy. Maybe she should talk to a professional who isn't just going to say you need Jesus. No one thought about that. No one considered that. I didn't even consider that at the time because I was just dealing with all of the things that made me want to commit suicide. But no one said she needs to talk to someone about this. And I think it's because in communities of color, at least with my generation, that just wasn't something people thought about. They thought about exactly who I said, the pastor. My pastor was not a licensed therapist. So
To them, that
he
is
was,
the best therapist. Okay. Like, that's another thing with people in religion. Like, the greatest therapy is prayer, it's God, it's going to church, it is surrounding yourself with other religious people who practice your religion, right? Like, it's
but
sorry,
God has also
continue.
gifted other people with the skills to handle this,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Why can't y'all send me to that person? Because
Because it's not God.
God moves in mysterious ways. I can't hear what God be telling me sometimes. You know what I mean? Like God
Right.
ain't like, girl, talk about it. Here are the actionable tools. God is
If he
not been
did, what
saying
would you
that for a
do?
long time. He's been there for a hot minute. You can just look in the Bible. He ain't been talking to us like that in a hot minute. And if he does, he would be like, "You are in a psychosis. You need to be on meds."
Not you in a psychosis.
Like legit. And so like, and I think that's the thing with a lot of communities of color is that there tends to be this, I don't want to say hyper religious, but I'm gonna say hyper religious. And this fixation of, oh, you don't got enough Jesus in your life. Jesus and how about we go see this? How about we go see this therapist? Jesus gonna be in the room wherever I go. So he is in the room with us, talking to the therapist, if that makes you feel better. No, it's true. So like I'm just trying to figure out for you, Donna, what were your warning signs of saying I need to be with a professional?
My warning signs was I guess the first one was probably apathy, or someone who's an empath to completely just go like null on emotions for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just stopped expressing. I just
Mm-hmm.
I stopped caring. Um, I stopped it just felt like I wasn't me. Like I know I was me, but like at the same time I just couldn't understand
You didn't
how,
feel like you.
yeah, it was really
Mm-hmm.
weird and I was like, I don't like this. But then to also go from that to like outbursts of anger
Mm-hmm.
to no matter what I did, no matter how hard I tried, I just couldn't express what I was feeling. Um, and it was difficult for me to talk to even the people I loved and cared about, even the people who were there for me constantly, right? Like,
When you say difficult, what do you mean by that? Like, explain more. Like, why was it difficult?
I don't know, it was just like if I was feeling hurt, like I couldn't express that I was hurt. It always just came out as anger. If I was sad, I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
express that I was just sad. It just came out as anger. If I needed time alone, I couldn't put all of these emotions into words. It's just
Mm, okay.
everything just just hurt. I was just always hurting on the inside and felt like I just felt alone again. And
Mm.
I felt, I don't know, it was just hard for me to talk to people. It was
Did you
hard.
feel like they wouldn't understand where you were coming from?
It was that. It was just not being able to even communicate how I was feeling, not feeling like they would understand. Just no longer feeling like I could be happy. Like that was another thing.
Mm,
Just I couldn't feel joy anymore. Um,
mm,
just I just felt like how they used to always display in cartoons like the person with the rainy cloud or the thunderous cloud walking over just like
mhm,
just them. Like that's legit how I
mhm.
felt. Like I was just encased in nothing but just like sadness and darkness and depression and it was
And what do you think brought that on? Like, what was the trigger for that apathy?
well, having what felt like my heart ripped out from the person that I love the most. And when because I always have this like vision of how things will go. And so like when my plan, I guess, just fails, it's that was just like kind of like a hit to the gut, but like this was more than that. It legit felt like my heart was being crushed, like it just was no longer there. And like over time, after not even processing that emotion properly, I'll say that because I did try and process it. I tried to heal, I tried to get through it. Um, I just threw myself into work. Um,
Mm.
I
I think a
was
lot
work.
of people do that. They try to stay busy to like distract from like the main problem.
Mhm. And then that's when um the kickstart of the truly not eating happened. Like just
Mm.
not sleeping, not eating, just not being able to barely function. uh and just over time, instead of properly dealing with that and just seeking a proper therapist, um I just never really healed. And so with that as the foundation and then every other trauma after that just piling on top of it, it was just eventually I completely stopped caring about people. And I was always looking for a therapist after like the pandemic happened and everything. Um,
Mhm.
but I had a certain envision of what my therapist would be, right? And so um it was difficult trying to find someone. But what made me really realize that no, I need to get back into therapy ASAP. Otherwise, this shit is gonna kill me. I remember just no matter how much my mother and I bump heads, I will never, or I guess I can say I will never. Never thought I would snap on her. And one day I did. Like I just straight up like in full-fledged anger and rage, like just snapped. And she was like, the look in her eyes was as if like, I don't know what the hell is wrong with her. I don't know what just happened, but like she needs to like calm down. And so I just remember like
Mhm.
going to the room and just laying down. And before I left to come back home, from down south to back here, um, I just remember her hugging me and telling me, I don't know what's wrong with you, but if you can't talk to me, talk to somebody. She's like, because there is something dark
Mhm.
on you and you need to get it off. And I was like, okay. And I remember her giving me a call when I got back, and she was like, you were never like this. She was like, you were always happy. You were always smiling. You were always in a good mood. She was like, you you always wanted to go places. She was like, you were never a inside kind of person. You never wanted to be alone. You didn't, she was like, who you are now is not who you were before. And she's like, I need you to do whatever it is you need to do to get out of whatever this is. And I was like, I'm working on it.
Mm.
I'm working on it. And I was like, I,
Do you think that the sadness in you or the apathy in you also attracted other people who had that same like sadness and apathy?
mm-hmm. Because I will say with
And
the current group, um, although I didn't like I wasn't as bad as I am now. Like I still back in like 2016 to 2018, right? I would still go out here and there. I would still hang out with people. I mean, I remember um with my friend Thea, we used to go everywhere. Like
Mhm.
me, Thea, and Vita, always. Like I was always with them. And Thea and I, we used to go to one of the like country clubs, right? Like not like the
Oh,
golf
at
country
Cowboys?
clubs. Yeah, yes, 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 yes. I love me some Cowboys, okay?
I've literally never been, but every girl I've ever known is went to Cowboys at least for ladies' night.
Yeah, it is so fun. I love it. And so she and actually Thea Heidi introduced me to it. But we used to go places all the time. And then just over the course of time, like I kind of adopted the same like mood and attitude as everyone around me. And I think that's when like that big shift happened because
Mhm.
I never realized what it meant to be a true empath, right? Like I never understood just how much of other people's emotions I could take on.
Yes, yes.
And I thought it was more of like, oh, I can feel, what they're feeling. I can read what they're feeling. And it's so much more than that. And having
Mm.
to deal with that and my own, it just became heavy, a lot heavier than I thought it
Correct.
was.
I think you just went into a subgenre we got to explore, which is whenever you have spiritual gifts, including being an empath, and how you learn to differentiate between what's yours and what's not, and how you learn to give other back their emotions and you take on yours. But that's like a whole like where you're talking about switching energy, picking up on energy, bringing energy into you, letting energy out. I think that's a whole different sub topic that we got to get into when it comes to spirituality and spiritual gifts. But they do play a huge part in mental health because, like you say, you can go into a room, the energy shift, and if you don't know your own energy well enough, next thing you know, you're like, why am I? This ain't even mine. What is whose anxiety? Up? Whose negativity that just jumped on me?
And
Like
that's
who?
that's that's actually what happened where like I started noticing that, someone in the group started going out a lot more and like having friends and like going to large crowds and stuff. And I'm like, they were never this person, like at least not when I met them. And then like I adopted the role of like the hermit. And I was like, what the
Someone
just
in the group that I know.
happened? Yeah.
We're gonna talk about that after because I need to know. Well,
Oh man.
I'm nosy, honest. Don't
I
don't do
know,
that.
I know. That's why the
Tiger?
moment you were like, someone in the group, I know. Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah. But yeah, yeah. I think that's also how it happens for a lot of us, where sometimes we will take on the energy of the people around us to the point where it becomes our own, but it never was originally ours. Um, and that's why the groups that you attract, everyone who you interact with, they're a projection of you on some part. And so the more you sit in that negative space, the more people you interact with in that negative space. Because again, that's the frequency you're giving off. Now, the thing that I've benefited from with therapy is understanding that because in every aspect of your life, you are projecting energy you may not even be aware of, like at all. And we got the same therapist, but Nikisha and I talk about how like when it comes to dating, like I've dated the same guy across different ethnic backgrounds and different age demographics. And I'm like, this is the same nigga I dated before. He just got a different accent. Like it's literally that bad. And Nikisha's like, girl, how are you dating the same? I'm like, everything seems so different. But it's because and I literally took 2 years off dating. I'm like, there has to be something within me. Let's go back to the drawing board and figure out what this is. Let's figure out where I went wrong. And it literally is taking the time to understand who you are. So one of the actionable things that I would recommend for people watching and struggling with emotional intelligence or mental health or anything in that nature is finding a therapist. And for me,
What me?
pardon me, one of the things that was really, really helpful was finding someone culturally aligned with who I am. So I needed a Black woman or a Black femme because the way Black women navigate the world is different than any other demographic. So that was number one. So for me, I also needed someone who was queer friendly, as I am queer. So I needed someone who understood that, who wasn't just going to be like, you need to go to God. And I needed someone who was not religious based. For me, those are the things I absolutely needed to feel safe enough in my environment with my therapist to have conversation. And so I think a lot of people just haven't found their right therapist. But for me, that's what I needed. Also, I needed a therapist who was going to make me put in the work. Like, say, this is your homework. When you come back here, these are the things you need to have done. I can only do what you're willing to do. And so someone who literally was like, what are you looking for out of each session together? What is our next big goal you're trying to reach? And then someone who understood working with neurodivergent people. Because knowing I'm an introvert, but also knowing I'm autistic, knowing I have ADHD, I don't want to say problems, but like obstacles like disordered eating, not being able to stick to tasks, executive dysfunction, all of that helps me navigate all the other things that I have going on in my life, like my health problems. So a lot of times if I'm feeling too down about something health wise, or I'm anxious because I'm doing another cancer scan, a lot of times other areas of my life used to suffer because I'm giving all of my focus to this one thing. Now I'm not doing what I need to do for work and grading papers is piling up, or I'm not doing what I need to in my personal life, or I'm not hitting my personal goals. And so if you're doing that constantly, consistently, everything becomes too much to handle. Now I'm overstimulated and I'm not productive. So just having someone who understands enough of your intersections and comfortable working with populations within that intersection has helped me. Like know that I've been with my therapist for I'm going on 5 years now. And at no year do I feel like we didn't get enough done. Like I never felt stagnant with my therapist. And you have her now, you can tell that she gonna make you work.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
she's gonna
I've
make you look
already
at things
had
from
like, yeah, I've had like 3 or 4 assignments now. And I think I've only had like 4 sessions with her. So yeah, she's definitely of
mm-hmm,
the, you're gonna have homework
mm-hmm.
each
But I
session.
like the way that she makes you prioritize yourself. Yeah, yeah. And I love that. I know I need that. And for a lot of people, they're like, just talking in therapy doesn't work for me. Good, because make sure you know that about yourself and get a therapist that's not all you doing, that you're actually putting in other actionable things.
But see,
And for me, I like to see the proof through those other.
when it comes to that though, right? Because people are just like, well, just talking isn't enough for me. And it's like, that is
Mm-hmm,
not true. Everybody needs to talk. You do not realize
mm-hmm,
just how much you need to talk, especially when you're in therapy, until you do it. Because I
mm-hmm,
also was like, what the fuck is talking gonna do for me in therapy? Like, I can just talk to my friends, but it's like, no, because there are some things that you can't share with people in your everyday life that it's
mm-hmm,
just easier to talk to your therapist about. Um,
mm-hmm.
I also will say, because there was something you mentioned about picking out the right therapist. Um, and it made me realize that and I do this thing, right? Because remember we talked about me always giving people benefit of the doubt, giving people chances,
Mhm,
and like just
mhm,
always looking for the best in people, right?
mhm,
Um, I didn't realize that there were some, until I had mine, right? Some judgmental therapists out there. And I'm like,
mhm,
this is supposed to be a safe space. Like, this is supposed to be judgment-free zone, you know? Like, you are
mhm,
not supposed to be in here judging these folks and making them feel bad for the decisions they've made. Now, yes, if it's a bad decision, you could tell them that here's another way to do that. But
mhm. Let's refocus the way you handle that situation and look at this other
right.
option.
And that's why I
I'm like,
love
you did what?
right,
That
right.
was
Like
what you
first
doing.
off, your face shouldn't be changing. It's supposed to be neutral. But that's why I love like in mine and Akeisha's sessions, like my mind will go one way. And because it's like I'm following along her conversations and I'm thinking she's going that way and she goes a completely opposite direction. I'm like, that is the therapist way to put that. Like that is a very like I want you to reframe your thinking way of putting stuff
Mhm,
because
mhm,
we were talking about something and oh it was about my childhood trauma, you know, with the singing and stuff like that, right? And she was
mhm,
like she said something and in my mind and the word insecurity came up, right? And she was like I don't want to say insecurities, and so she was trying to like, you know, find another way to say it, and she did. And I was like, huh, technically that is the very thing that I do, but that's
mhm,
not what I would have said. And so I remember her
mhm,
talking the session before this one where she was like, there's this thing that, you know, some people do. Like, we all will have these thoughts of like, oh man, that was so silly, or that was so stupid, or like that was, you know, insert whatever like negative thing you could say. And it doesn't necessarily mean that like you think bad about yourself. But then there are other
mhm,
people to where that's all they say. And so
mhm,
she's like, those people we want to get away from that type of thinking because saying one-offs
mhm,
isn't an issue. But
mhm,
constantly, every time you do something wrong, Donna, what the hell is wrong with you? Donna, that's so stupid. Donna, why are you, you know, doing this? Like that isn't healthy. And so
mhm.
it just yesterday's session just like made me realize like I really think I did pick a good one. Because I'm not gonna lie, I was questioning it. I was
Mhm,
like, is this the therapist for me?
mhm.
Like,
I mean, because you made a good point. You said, D, just because she's a therapist for you doesn't mean she's going to be the one for me. And I said, that is
right,
a very valid point. You have to make sure that she works for you.
right. And I was like,
Mhm.
but yesterday it was just like the way she was carrying that session. I was like, okay, I'll try for this year. I'll give you a year,
But you also
Nikki.
have to understand, like, she also had to get to the point where she knows you and kind of like understands your thinking. And so that takes a
Mhm.
couple sessions.
It
But
does.
that's why I think,
And that's why I was like, we're not gonna quit after the third session, Donna. We're not gonna do that. We gonna stick with it. Okay. We're gonna stick with it for at least 6 months, you know, like because I think I have two a month. So like we gonna stick with it and just,
okay.
you know, try and work this out. But I was like, okay. But yeah. I don't even know
So,
why I started
like,
saying
so
that,
I go
but
there every, oh, I say that all the time. Like, yeah, but yeah. But like, I go there every week because I feel like there are, so with that intersection of autism and ADHD and still trying to be a human who has like a job that requires a lot of production out of you, but then also being someone who is disabled. navigating the world with these expectations can be a challenge for me. And so I do go to therapy every week because there are new things that come up and I'm just like, okay, I thought I had the skills to handle this, but here we are, you know, how do I navigate this thing?
Mm.
And I think even on the weeks where I think, oh, nothing really happened, it's because again, I'm trivializing things that are huge. She'll be like, well, D, well, what's the nothing you said it didn't really happen? And then I'll say stuff and she'll be like, so let me get this straight. You had meningitis, almost died, went to the hospital, found out, and like, it really do. I'd be like, I guess something did happen. She's like, you didn't think that was major? That you was in a hospital for 5 days with COVID, and I was like, I mean, it happens, you know. So like, just her understanding where it's like, this part of you is trying to downplay it. Are you working through the emotions through it, or are we back in the cycle we were doing before? So I, on a weekly basis, I'd be like, oh, nothing. And if there is a time where nothing big is happening, we're like, what goals can we work on? And how can we attack them in a way that's authentic to you? And that's huge for me because sometimes emotional intelligence means I've already dealt with the problem that was holding me back. Now, how do I learn how to not get in my own way to go forward and succeed
Mm.
and
That's
not feel
gonna
guilty?
that's gonna be a difficult one for me because that is somewhere I struggle where it's like I always have that little voice of doubt like in the back of my mind sometimes. And like I remember talking to like my life coach. I don't see her anymore, but she'll always be forever my life coach. I love this woman. Shout out Bon. She's the best. And she introduced me to the term of like self-sabotage and like
Mm-hmm.
how for me it was, self-sabotage is like what I thought it was, right? It was just like deliberately going out your way to like do things. And it's like sometimes it's just the smallest things. It's even that voice
And you
of
may not even
doubt.
know you're doing it.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. And it's like a lot of the cases, it's like we don't realize we're sabotaging ourselves. Um,
Because self-fulfilling prophecies and self-sabotage go hand in hand. Like you may
hmm
be like, I already know I'm not going to do good in this.
right.
And
And so you don't
so
even put
you're
in the
working.
work.
Mhm.
Like you don't even put in the effort and then it fails, obviously, and you're like, see, I knew it. And it's like, no, you just didn't do what you were supposed to do.
Mhm.
That doesn't
Mhm.
mean that you're right. It just means you fucking sabotage yourself, you idiot.
And I feel like in particular in communities of color, because we already have so many voices telling us what we can and can't do, what we can and can't be successful at, that idea creeps into our head more readily with like imposter syndrome kicking in very aggressively, where we never feel like we're enough. Meanwhile, there'd be some mediocre person who is not even close. Like we were talking this morning, and I was like, girl, knowing that Bob Dylan had a whole singing career and that man cannot sing, but he got a strong pen game, gives me the faith of more like 30,000 mustard seeds to know that I'm going to be successful. Dude cannot sing. Super successful. Adele did the best cover of his song and he did. Like, let's be honest. You know what I mean? But like knowing that there's nothing stopping me for being a successful writer with Bob Dylan in the room. He in the world. He already put stuff out. You know what I mean? Knowing that Stephanie Meyer wrote a flat character in Twilight and still had all the success that she saw.
You know
You
what?
know what I
Maybe
mean?
that's why people think Twilight sucks. Because I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed the movie, but I also enjoy like mythical creatures like that, right? Like you
I
can
enjoyed the movie,
put
but Bella was not a full character. She was a very flat character. She had
oh,
no sense of
absolutely.
self,
She was
no
the
self-esteem.
she was the very basic damsel in distress. Like the basic
Exactly.
formula for damsel in distress. Like when I said
Exactly.
she irritated me. And the
Mm-mm.
way she
But that's what
talked,
I'm saying. Like
it was just like, shoot, like, damn, I know anxiety, but damn, is it that bad? Shit. Damn.
But that's the thing. It's like the character wasn't even full. And a lot of the characters, we didn't really get to see their full selves in the movies. We saw more of them in the books, but we still like, okay, we want more. And then you see the characters who are idolized. You're like, this is a very unhealthy relationship. Why are we idolizing this? So just stuff like that, where it's like, with these people having full on careers, girl, what are you afraid of? Like,
You know what? You're right. I guess there really shouldn't be anything I should be afraid of. Like it.
but I think we're also told, like, in order to go half as far, you have to be, twice as good. And we see that play
That's
out
true.
daily. So we
Mm-hmm.
also have to go in knowing that we're already twice as good because we're putting in the work,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Because there's
So,
also what's his name? I think it might be Capellas, but I think it's Acapellas Gray. Um, he sings the Gallus song.
you already know I'm about to tell you right now.
Okay, never mind.
Okay.
But no, I think it's Capella Gray. Sorry, so sorry. But I just remember watching like his interview and this person being like, they went into 10 different rooms. They got 9 no's
Hmm.
because everyone was just like, it's not gonna make it. The sound is just it it doesn't make any sense. Like he was just like they were given a bunch of reasons as to why they didn't want to believe in him. And it was
Hmm.
that one room. I think it was like actually the very last room. Um, and they said, yeah. And I'm like, 9 no's. That shit would crush my spirit. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. That that
So in writing, they tell you that in order to get one yes, you have to go through like 80 no's.
damn.
So you should be putting out at least 80 pieces, like putting out feelers to at least 80 different places before expecting a yes. And they tell you that. So like whenever you're doing anything creative, you're gonna see a lot of no's. A lot, especially if you're doing something creative from a perspective. So like, I don't know if you remember at the gala we went to, the banquet, sorry, the banquet, not the gala, that we went to, and my provost made a comment where he was like, I realize that artists of color are all talking to each other and we don't even realize it. And I was like, we are, because there'll be sometimes in literature where what is said, we get it. You know, those who get it. Those who don't, don't. But we don't realize how much of our literature we're talking to each other. So when we're standing in rooms that aren't for us, they don't understand the value in what we're creating. And that can toy with us emotionally. That can bring in that self doubt. That can bring in, am I good enough? Will people get it? Should I just stop? No, because the people who are for you are going to be for you. But imagine the emotional turmoil is if you're trying to be a person of color fitting into white spaces and the white people don't get it. So all the rooms you're going in, you're hearing no's, like you just said, that would break your confidence, you know? And then if we go
And I'm
back to the
like,
same thing, that whole can't tell nobody, we don't have people to talk to, we don't have a
mm-hmm.
therapist.
And then it's like, damn, how did y'all get through that? Like, how do you, because I'm sure there are people out there who've heard more no's than just the 9.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sure there are people who are still hearing no's. I'm sure there are people who are,
Mm-hmm.
there are people who are being turned down because they don't want to, sorry, something caught my attention. Um, they,
They don't want to conform.
yeah. Cause like there's
Mm-hmm.
who was it? You probably not gonna know these people either. But I love these two rappers, Amaretta the Great and uh crap. Uh damn, what's her name? Des Dior. And their whole thing was they didn't want labels, right? Like they did not want to be
Mm,
signed to a label. They always wanted to remain as independent artists. And a lot of people didn't believe in
mm,
them. Like, was like you're not gonna make it. Like, you're just not gonna make it that
mm,
far because everyone needs like some help. Like, you're just not gonna have that money. And I'm like, that's not
mm,
true because
at all.
there's another artist, I can't think of his name right now, but him and his brother have been independent since they started. And they have been doing this since like I think like I was back in high school. Like that's how long they have
And
been
also,
doing this.
Hopi Nagoye, I think is how you say his name. I think he's independent as well. Him and his wife do all their videos.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yep. And then you have Queen Herbie, although not a person of color, but still someone who's
Yeah.
independent and sees really great success. So there's been a few people where it's like, no, I don't. Oh, what's his name? Random. I think his name is Random Structure. He does Starkeisha, but he has an amazing voice where he does like different personalities with different people. And if I'm not mistaken, he is also independent and he has killed it. Like there's a lot of people that just say, there's not a space for me. I'll find my own. Tyler the Creator, I'm not sure if he's independent, but I know he started via social media, and that's where he gets his following from. And one of those people where like, oh, his people will find him, and they definitely have. So but again, you have to make sure that you have someone keeping you level headed as you navigate rejection. I don't mind rejection. I've been rejected for so long, especially being polyamorous. You're over here. Well, I'm not anymore, but back in the when I was like on dating sites, you're mingling and meeting people, and it's okay. Like this is just not the right fit. And I think that I've taken that same attitude into the way I create my art. It's cool. It's not the right fit. That's all right. I'm gonna keep searching until I find the right fit. Donna, who you looking for? I can see it in your eyes, all on your glasses.
Damn, snitching glasses. No, I was trying to look for this artist, but like I really can't think of his name and it's gonna kill me because like I know it. I know his fucking name.
And I probably do not know this man because you'll
I
be coming
know.
up with names I've never heard before. We are on completely different sides of it. And it is very rare that our sides come together. We be like, girl, yeah, girl. But we are on so many different sides of entertainment. But yes, so actionable things. One, having a professional to talk to and how to choose that professional. We've given that information out. Two, before you even get to that stage, I guess this would be number one, realizing when there's that change in you that prompts you to say,
I need help.
I need help. I'm struggling. Around you grace because they may not be equipped to handle how you're struggling. And they shouldn't have to be your therapist. Because again, grace. Are there any other actionable things you think that we should include?
What was the third thing you said? Surround yourself with people who give you grace.
No, giving other people grace because they may not be able to help you. Like either they don't have the bandwidth or they don't have the skills. It doesn't mean they don't love you. They just may not have the ability to help you. And so then I asked, is there anything that you think we should add to this list?
Um, I mean, I guess along with that, like giving others grace, and probably before that actually is giving yourself grace. and kindness and
Mhm.
compassion, like always putting yourself first and what you need.
Mm.
Because it's always
Yeah.
going to start with you. If you don't take care of
Hmm.
you, um, it that just radiates out to, again, outbursts of anger. And that is not
Hmm.
healthy.
You're right.
You start
You're
pushing
right.
people away, even if it's intentionally, right? Like, even if you're not deliberately like, I just need to be alone, pushing them away, it's legit your aura about you, right? Like it starts getting nasty and vile, and people don't want to be around you. And so it's like,
Facts.
till you get that help, you will probably continue to lose people. And um,
And then know that even after you get help, the people you attract you may not vibe with anymore because you're not in a stage of fragility. You've moved on, and you'll notice that maybe the people you were around, y'all just don't vibe anymore. And that is very valid. It happens. And that's when you got to realize some people are for a season. Respect that season and respect that person after that season.
hmm, trying to think of anything else.
If not, we'll come back to it whenever we talk about emotional intelligence of self.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Look at you, foreshadowing. The writer foreshadowing.
I know, right? At least the skills. And that's why I know I can be the next Bob Dylan, the
You are
one and only
so
D.
ridiculous. All right. I think that's actually right on time. I think we went a little over because I didn't look at the time, like exactly when we started, so it might be just a little over. But
That's okay.
it was a really good topic, and I really enjoyed this conversation today. Um, I think that today was definitely, I don't know if you feel this way, but like for me, it was heavy because like having to think about what I didn't have and knowing that it was an option, it always hurts. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like
Mm,
it hurts. And it's like, and I could understand if like so my family was like that with everyone else. It wasn't always the case. Like, love her to death, but my mom got better with my younger brothers. And
hmm.
it was difficult to watch. I'm not gonna lie to you, especially
But we got to
with,
give that person grace because your mom didn't know.
I mean, yeah. Yeah. Uh, doesn't make it hurt any less. I'll say that.
Sure. Facts.
And I know it's something I'm gonna have to talk to her about because there's things that just like it still comes up to this day. And I know she's probably wondering like why I am just like so, I don't want to say mean towards her. 'Cause I'm not mean, but I'm also not as warm as I could be. Um,
Mm.
and yeah, there are reasons. Like the shit I had to deal with versus what they had to deal with. And it's like it's that fucking older child shit, bro. Like sorry. Ugh, so sorry. But yeah, it sucks.
Oh, Donna, I need to write a note about that because we're going to touch that later
About what?
about emotional intelligence within the Black family unit.
Okay.
About you saying like being the older child and watching the younger generations and I have to deal with what you had to deal with.
Okay. Uh, oh shit, we haven't done it yet. Okay, okay,
We can do
okay.
that.
Let me go ahead and leave that. I'm gonna put it on the sheet. That way we both see it. So
Okay.
depending on who's I guess not leading, but I don't know the word I'm looking for. But,
Let's say leading, like hosting, like it is
yeah,
the guide
let's say
of
that.
information for that day.
Yeah. Oh, I was like, where's the note section? But it's called comment, that's why. Hmm. Uh,
It's number 6, episode 6. Now that's giving you
huh?
writing that note. I'm going to go ahead and start with the set of intentions for the day.
Okay.
So my intention for the day, so like, sorry, my internet went out. Technically, I'm back at work tomorrow. Can you hear me, Donna?
Okay. I can now, yeah.
I saw that it went out. So for me,
Hmm.
I want to go ahead and plan my semester. Like I do a semester calendar um, every semester so I can like understand how my time works. And so especially since I'm in a different time zone, my goal is to go ahead and plan my semester on paper. So that's my intention. What's yours?
My intentions. Mm, probably tonight will just be to like get some food in me because I have not eaten yet. Um, and get prepared because work starts tomorrow for me also. And um prepare myself for this weekend, which is
What's
when
happening this
the
weekend?
uh nothing really. I'm just trying to watch all the episodes that I have not watched. And then
Oh,
and attempting to do my hair. Yeah.
okay. All
So
right. So, you ready for the creative meditation?
I
30
am. If
minutes.
you have not already, go ahead and grab your journals, pen and paper, get into your spot, your pose, whatever it is that you would like to do for the creative meditation section. Um, we're going to be doing about, are we doing 30 or 45 today? You there?
30.
Oh, okay. I was like,
Did you hear me? Did you hear me say 30?
yes. Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
All
so sorry about the
righty.
Wi-Fi today, y'all.
It is. Yeah. If y'all are, well, that depends if this is the one that we actually upload. Because if it's that bad and it shows on camera, we're recording this.
You
Okay.
literally went out again, Donna.
Hello? Are you there?
Yeah, I can hear you, but your video isn't there.
You
Okay, now
sure?
you're back.
Okay. I was like, let me try moving now. Oh, all right. Yeah. Oh, I meant to ask you about last episode. Remind me to ask you after this.
Okay.
Ooh, goodness. All right, Jay, we are going to start. It is currently 9:35. So, well, where I am. Let me say that. In 30 minutes, we'll be back. Sound, yes, please. All right. All right. That has been 30 minutes. Ooh. Uh, let's see. How do you feel?
I felt good. I did some categorizing my stories by like giving sample chapters so I can start pitching to agents. So I felt really good about that.
Oh, I see you. I see you. I see you.
So that's what I love about the creative meditations where like in other times where I'm just like not focused enough to get something done, I'm doing it here and I love that.
I love that for you.
What did you write, Donna?
I actually didn't write this time. I just read my book. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Uh, got a few pages in there. Well, actually, I got a couple chapters in there, believe it or not. Uh,
Good.
and at first, I didn't think I liked the story because I was like, it's picking up a little slowly, but it's getting there. It's getting there. It's getting
Good.
there. I like it. I like it. But yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes. One of the main characters just found out about an ability that one of the supernatural creatures has and didn't think that they had it, but they could apparently freeze people. And so it was very
Oh, nice.
terrifying, when she went out and was in the club thinking she was going to party, and then all of a sudden she froze. And so yeah.
No.
And it's crazy because it's not
That's
like it's like
wild.
ice frozen or anything, but it's legit like she couldn't move. Like she was just like,
Yeah.
yeah. Hmm. So I was like, oh,
I know
they're
exactly when you said
introducing.
it.
I was like, they introducing new abilities. Okay, okay. I'm ready to see where this goes. But yeah, so I just, like I said, I have not been able to put this Kindle down and I love it. Whew. All righty. So that is episode 4. We did it. We did it. Are you still there? Oh, okay. I was
Yep. And we've
like,
previewed the other episodes, so that was like last on our thing to do. Yeah, we already previewed everything, so that's it. So we're gonna
yes.
sign out the only way we know how. Everything that was brought to you today was brought with our whole chest, nothing but our
But the
chest. So
chest,
help
so
us
help us
ancestors.
ancestors. Yes. Yes.
We'll see you later.
Bye, guys. Mm. Did it stop recording?
Just lost internet.